Here.
Here.
Okay. We'll start this meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next agenda item, we have minute approvals. I didn't see any minutes in there.
They will be presented to the board at the next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, then we'll move forward. Citizens' time.
Good evening, Board.
Good.
Architectural Review Board, Joseph R. Passanello, 6895 Track Court, Haymarket. I just wanted to congratulate Susan. I think that was a good call, and I commend the council for putting her back where she belongs on the ARB. And I just wanted to share with you members who were censured that I think it was wrong. And I also believe that the 2 votes that were overturned were wrong. And I just want to encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. I'm not sure about what I've heard about adversarial relationships. I see that you have been trying hard as volunteers for this town. And there are a lot of people who appreciate what you do. So I just wanted you to know from me, I thank you very much, and continue doing what you're doing and protect the interests of our residents in this town. So I thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else? Okay, so we'll move on then to the first COA on the agenda item list, Ash Salon and Spa sign.
Yes, so first up tonight we have Ash Salon. They are expanding to a new location within town, so we're very excited for them. They are going to request from the ARB to reuse their existing signage on the building over here, the old post office. And they want to take that and put it onto the old bank building. There are renderings in the packet on page 7. And then they would also like to add, if you look on page 8, they would like to add the hanging sign right below the other tenant's hanging sign, and very similar in style, just simple white with black lettering. So Emily's here tonight to answer any questions you may have about the signs and the new locations.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
So I just had a question real quick. So or actually for Emily, it's an individual letter sign, the ash sign above,
That is
just
correct.
below the
yes.
parapet? Okay.
So the only change will be they're taking the existing sign and they're adding the plus spa under it, but it's still the same lettering format, still the same
That they have
concept.
over here.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't really see the details of the hanger for this sign. I'm assuming it's pretty much the same as the sign above it.
That is correct, yes.
Same specs, yes, sir.
Only thing I would offer, going back to the individual letter sign in terms of mounting, the Washington Street Realty that we did out here, to keep from having to drill like 4 holes for each individual letter, they mounted it on an acrylic and then placed it on there. So if that's something that you wanted to do, if you want to do a cost overrun, or if the tenant or the owner objects to the amount of mounting brackets you're putting on the brick, and just let us know and we can talk about that alternative as well.
Okay, yeah, I think our current, or our landlord, has gone over it, and she's okay with everything.
Okay.
The only difference, of course, was basically using the same exact sign lettering, just doing the plus spa. And then we wanted also to use the same exact light that is just over the lettering. So it would be this image here, and the light would go just above it, and it would, you know, it's within the parameters of like the neighborhood. It shuts off at 10 p.m. Goes on at 6 a.m. So that would be the only other thing.
That's the same fixture you have over there today?
Yes, sir. Same exact fixture.
The
Just gonna-
black
Yeah.
goosenecks, like
Yeah.
bronze, that was approved in November 2017.
With the previous one? Okay. And then you have a window sign, white, and then,
Yes, same exact as we currently have now.
So you're just basically taking it, moving
Taking
it
it
over
and
here.
just moving
Okay.
it to our new location. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
and you already asked a question about the bracket?
Yes.
Mhm.
I have no issues, Mr. Chairman.
I'm
No
good.
issues?
You good?
Okay.
Want a motion?
Motion, please.
I'd like to make a motion to approve zoning permit application 2019-026 for Ash Salon for their sign package.
Can I make one friendly amendment? That'd include approval of the transfer of the same fixture, light fixture from the current sign.
Yes, so amended. You're gonna second it?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Last chance for discussion. Put it up for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank
Good
you
to
very
go?
much. Thank you.
Thank
luck.
Thank
you.
you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next COA.
Our next COA is for Haymarket Family and Cosmetic Dentistry sign application. So Dr. M is located over here in the, what we call the Remax building, brick building here. He currently has his family dentistry sign located on the building. He will be removing this and replacing it with the sign shown on packet page 14. It is going to fit within the exact same footprint of the existing sign. His goal here is to add his logo on the left, which is the H, and as he let us all know, the H is also a toothbrush in there, so that's why you have that little white featuring. That's the bristles.
Cute.
So he's just looking to get his logo out there for everyone to see. So tonight we have a gentleman from NHM.
NHM Inc., correct? We're the contractor for the sign fabrication.
So if you guys have
I
any
don't
questions.
believe the applicant is here, so I'll take over. You have the drawings in front of you. The sign will essentially be the same as what they have now, except we're adding the logo on the side, and the wording's going to be different, but the materials will be the same. We are adding the logo with a material called high-density urethane foam. It is a routable substrate that can be, cut to any design and then painted, and it essentially is hard as rock, but very lightweight to hang on the building. They'll be mounted with studs that will be drilled into and epoxied into the individual letters, and then drilled into the mortise in the building.
So it won't be
In the
any more
mortar.
raised or
It will be raised slightly off the surface,
slightly, but
but we won't be going into the brick itself, into the mortar joints only. I do have some samples here of the materials if you'd like to see them.
Sure.
Yeah.
I told you, first day kindergarten.
Feel?
So this material is called high-density urethane foam. Take a look at it. It's very lightweight,
Thank you.
and once it's painted, it
Looks like that.
looks like this. Very hard, very lightweight.
You said you just affix it between the mortar joints or in the mortars?
It will be mounted with studs coming off the back, metal studs that are drilled into the back of this and epoxied in, and then drilled into the mortar joints and epoxied in.
What about, well, I'll wait till he goes back there, so he's back on the recording.
The letters will be routed out of acrylic. They'll be, these are much smaller, but essentially this material.
Yeah, which is pretty much what's on there with the other signs.
Yeah.
Emily, there was a real estate sign that used to be up here. Is that gone now?
It's still there, I think.
Still there? Okay.
It's still there, so this is only taking the place of Dr. M's current sign.
Okay.
So I think right now it says family dentistry.
Oh, I
So
see the
he
graphic.
wants
Change
to,
it, right.
Right there.
Yeah.
I got you.
yeah, you see it in the upper picture, it's
Sorry, I'm
very
going like this.
blurry, sorry.
Turn this sideways. Yep. Gotcha.
Is there a sign package for the building or no? A sign plan for the, since it's a multiple unit building? No? Okay. I didn't remember that there was, but some of them do.
And this one fits, this one does fit with the existing, so I believe Remax's, theirs is also individual letter.
Right.
And then there was one or two others approved, at least in my tenure here, but have not been placed yet. I don't think they'll be placed at this point, but they were also individual
the-
letter.
I'm looking for the color.
The color of the logo,
Yeah.
it's a light green, and then it has a dark green border
Just
around
white,
it.
green, and black. Okay.
And then the H is black with the white
Yeah.
bristles of the toothbrush.
Have they picked an exact color, or is it?
At the bottom of it, the dark green,
Does
it's
it
just
say?
the code, it's PMS
Oh, okay, okay.
7489C.
I see it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way it's positioned on the building should be good. I would agree at some point in the future, when they get more tenants, we probably need to come up with a more comprehensive
Yeah.
sign plan, but that's why I was looking for the relationship to the Remax. But I think it's fine.
Yeah.
And we've typically not, have we allowed branding? I'm not thinking we allowed branding on
Yeah.
it, but we have allowed it, so, okay.
Because Remax put theirs up.
That's right, right next door.
Yeah, and then on top of that, there was also,
There was one that had a purple and an orange. but
Yeah.
forget what
I
logo
can't
they
remember.
were.
Yeah.
No, we do.
That's all I have,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I think we're good with questions. Anybody want to make a motion?
Oh, you talking to me? You're talking to me. Excuse me just a second. Oh, lighting. Did you have any interest in lighting at this point?
There are no lighting scheduled,
Okay.
as far as I know.
Oh, we can touch the screen.
Yeah.
Feeling like my parents. Okay, I make a motion to approve certificate of appropriateness ZP 2019-27 for the proposed sign for Haymarket Family and Cosmetic Dentistry located at 15100 Washington Street.
Second.
Okay, you got a motion and second. Last chance for discussion. Put it up for vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Chairman, if we could just take a brief recess so I can set up the presentation screen for our next applicant, that would be wonderful.
Okay, we'll recess for 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah, with this method, I gotta go spin up to the agenda, spin down to where I'm going. It's like, before I used to have that agenda. Welcome back.
So, tonight we have with us the Haymarket Hotel Venture LLC. They have applied to construct a hotel across the street, and so tonight with us we have Novus Architects in from Charlotte, I believe. So they're going to run through their application, the architecturals, your materials, and so if you have any questions, certainly feel free to ask.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here and having us here. So we're presenting today, of course, a 4-story hotel located across the street. And we have designed this hotel in what we feel is complete within the strict guidelines of the ordinance in primarily making and designing a building that looks like it belongs here, has always been here, and really speaks to the character of the details, the historical and the oldness and the history of this town. We have brought to life a lot of the architectural details in this, including the brick details of soldier coursing, rowlock, corbelling. We have limestone materials at the top. We've got arched windows and really the other sort of big part of this is with it having a downtown presence on the corner of a main intersection here is really trying to engage with the pedestrians and the locals. And so it was very important to us to present a facade that has outdoor seating with an area that really engages and promotes the active community to come in and not just be a place for tourists and visitors, but also a place that locals can engage. They can come in for dinner. There is a focus with the owners to have a very strong food and beverage component that they will also bring that to the community. And so it's, in walking around your city and seeing all of the history that's built in here, I think that our building really has a home here, and fitting in is our most important thing for us, and I think for you as well. And so with that, we've got some of the materials that we have selected in line with also some of the materials that we've seen around town.
Could you, excuse me, sorry for interrupting. Could you carry the mic with you so that
Yes,
the audience can hear?
yes.
Thank you.
And so our primary material on this building will be of a red brick. This is a red iron spot brick with an accent brick that has more of a brownish tint to it, as purely as an accent piece.
So the main brick is to the left.
Main brick is this one, and then this would be used for some of our window headers, lintels,
Okay.
And some of the soldier coursing throughout the building.
Your big cat was in the way.
And then up at the top corners and along sort of positioned sporadically throughout the building, primarily on the fourth floor, is a limestone material, again carrying through some of the materials that are used in and around town. And that would be a 12 by 24 block.
Okay.
The colors that we've selected, these are, these two center ones are not currently, we don't have a use for them currently, but they are placeholders in the event that as we continue to develop the project and refine the details of it, that we have a placeholder that would be approved, but it would be sort of within the scheme of what we are designing. Right now we do have the iron ore and the alabaster being where we have our cornices and those details. The iron ore would be really used at this main corner and some of our accent pieces, our porte-cochere drop-off area, and things like that. So anything, all of our metal accent details would primarily be this color or very close to this color. And with that, I'll open it up for discussion.
Do you have any more of the elevations, or is that the only elevation?
Oh, yes,
you-
we do have, there are other views. So this would be on the parking side.
Lights off as we go through them, sorry. Good,
This
okay.
elevation here would be from the parking lot side, at the drop-off area, and the vestibule here. Again, making that, the goal is to make that as attractive as the outside street-facing elevations. This is a view just looking down Washington, with, of course, the museum front and center. And this is highlighting some of the detailing with the soldier coursing here, and then also some of the art window headers.
Is the cornice masonry here, or is it?
It's not. It will most likely, we can do either a formed GFIC, formed concrete, or we can do an EFIS material, which I know is not necessarily approved in the ordinance, however, from a distance, and it would be colored and detailed to look and read as a true concrete, formed concrete cornice.
What about the window, I'm trying to think of the word, it just left me.
What's that?
Thank you. Are they black? Are they,
They are currently black.
okay.
Yep.
It just looks like it's a little different than the other blacks, but I'm sure it's just the mock-up.
Yeah, I think it's just a material.
It doesn't
and-
transfer. Sometimes things don't transfer
Yep.
well, yeah.
And that's sort of pulling in this street front corner and making the whole building really read as cohesive, pulling it all together.
Have you given any thought to making the windows, to me, those windows look modern,
Yes.
to have more gridding in them?
We had looked at it, and the reason we went to this side of it, and not necessarily to be a modern look, but more as creating really a standpoint on the corner, creating and treating this corner as a more prominent piece in the building, and letting the rest of the building sort of fade to the background. And so where this is the area where our locals would come in and enter into the restaurant, really just treating that as almost its own different building in a sense.
I get that, it's just so, for it to be sitting out there so prominently, and all of the buildings around it have that. And the buildings that were taken down had the traditional old, 12 light or however many light windows.
Yeah, this gives it a more of a modern look.
And I don't know that modern, it's just kind of plain and not. And also, I don't see any lighting in the drawings.
We do have lighting incorporated, particularly down at the first floor level. Between this area out here is where our outdoor patio would be for the
Okay.
dining area, and so we do actually have
Is-
lighting located on each of those.
And that's Washington Street, that's the corner of
Yep.
Jefferson and
Yep,
Washington,
so that would be
okay.
facing right here.
Yeah,
facing
okay.
this elevation. And then also, we would repeat that down the side of the building as well.
They're hard to see.
Do you happen to have the specs on the fixtures at all?
I do not. We aren't quite there yet,
Okay.
but we'd be happy to submit those.
You can see them faintly. You
I
see them.
can, but it's just, yeah.
Yeah,
Certainly not the spec, but.
they kind of fade to the background.
Yeah, and it's difficult to see any detail that you might have, like, is the brick pretty much flush all around, or do you have any type
No,
of?
it's recessed in
yeah.
and out. So if we go back
Yeah.
to, I think, up one. So this is,
Yeah,
this view is sort of detailing or highlighting some of that, and everywhere that there is a soldier course or row up, we either project in or out, so that there is some relief in
Right.
the building.
Here, I guess those are air vents for the HVAC units.
They are, yes. And those louvers would be colored to match the window frames.
What is the relief? You have this panel, what's the word I'm looking for?
Between these
The
two
bay, you kind of
sentences.
have this bay with the brick, and then you have the next bay over with the masonry. What's the relief? Is it about 3 or 4 feet?
It is, yep. It's the difference between a king room and a queen room. So I believe it's about
Okay.
3.5 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
And,
And you can see that a little bit more clearly if you look at the plan view, where there's sort of the ins and outs of the building.
right,
And so everywhere that the building projects in or out, there is a slight change in how we address that. And so changing up the detailing, so it almost reads as you walk down the sidewalk or drive by that you would almost perceive them as separate buildings, where they are treated slightly different from one to another. And that's also carried through with the height of the parapets, along the elevations. It is not one consistent height throughout.
And what about lighting at that sign?
The signage package is actually going to be submitted separately.
Separately,
Yep,
okay.
but I think, and I hope that we don't get caught up on it, but naturally it wants to be an illuminated, internally illuminated sign with individual letters, but we will submit that separately.
Okay.
And make sure
All the
that
signs
is
are coming separately.
in
That's all I
compliance.
need to know.
Yep.
So we're focusing now on just the building itself.
The building and materials, yep.
Okay.
I'm sorry, you're done with your presentation? You ready for
Sure.
questions? Okay. Well, first of all, I think this is a great first start. I think, obviously put a lot of time and effort into it. I think the relief that's there, the variation, the fenestration, trying to break it up, sensitivity to materials. I can certainly see that the time and effort and thought that was put into it. I did have some questions. I guess some of the earlier presentations I had listened to had suggested that you were told you had to do brick. Was that a directive? Where was that directive? How did that come?
It's not necessarily that we had to do brick, but
Okay.
more that we, in seeing all of the architecture in and around town, that is one of the more prominent features that we do see. And so in a building, notably that is larger than many of your buildings here, the scale of the building and the proportions of it, it just lended itself to that direction.
Okay.
And so that's why we ended up here.
Any thought to, so most of the buildings that were demolished, one of the reasons why we had asked for the surveys was to try to document some of the architectural elements. Most of those were wood. Was there any thought at one point of trying to, when you see kind of these buildings, that, especially along your Jefferson Street facade, where you could break it up with the different, I just lost the term, where you have the different faces that vary? Was there any thought about wrapping it maybe within a wood or some other product that would match kind of the colonial style of some of the buildings that were taken down?
We had not, we didn't go down that road.
Okay. Can we turn the lights back on, or is it hard to see and turn the lights back on too? Okay. Okay. I
Mr.
think
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
There's a draft motion in your packets for approval of certificate of appropriateness, but based on the presentation, the sign package is to come later, and so wouldn't the motion, if the board wants to adopt that, need to say specifically that there will the signs are not covered by this COA?
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be.
So I think, typically, Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the way we normally handle these things is that our first meeting is a lot of the question and answer and recommendations, and then
Yeah.
typically we follow up and review those changes. So, so I guess the overall sense is that this is a significant change to our downtown. I think this will dictate or certainly control or influence the future. So I wasn't so much undermining the brick materials. I was just curious where did that come from, because we hadn't talked to you yet. So when I'd heard, well, we were told we had to do brick, I was kind of curious as to where that had come from. It's definitely a high-quality material. Some of the guidance we have from the comp plan and community design talks about colonial, federalist, folk Victorian with Greek revival, and Italiante architectural details. Do you feel that some of these elements have been incorporated here?
I do.
Okay.
I do feel like that specifically with brick detailing, with the arching of the windows and how we've addressed that, as well as the detailing in the cornices that repeat throughout the building at all levels.
One of the things that we had guided on, Mr. Chairman, if you want me to read from, this is in the architectural styles. Would you mind if I read from the policy?
Feel free.
Okay, this is from page 45 in the comp plan. When the town adopted the Historic District of 94, established the Architecture Review Board, the ARB, according to Town Code 585559, was established to prevent developments obviously incongruous with the old and historic aspect of the surroundings. Rather than basing on the design of new construction on extant, did I say that right? X-T-A-N-T? Extant? Extant? Historic structures in town. The ARB was pursuing a colonial theme to all new development in town. In 2004, the town held a charrette in the hope of getting some objective advice concerning the town's vision for development. The opinion of the town town's architecture, the opinion of the town's architecture was essentially that the town's architectural standards should reflect the fact that Haymarket has an incremental quality to it, that is, it's been built over time. However, the town does not really have a colonial heritage, but more of 1800s and early 1900s rural country style. The style includes frame buildings such as of the time white with tin or other metal roofs. Masonry materials and single roofs such as Old Town Alexandria have been used but are not as common. The town should prepare architectural standards that are examples of Haymarket's extant?
Extant.
I said that right. Historic architecture and not adopt the architectural standards from another community. So when I read this and I looked at yours, I thought it does a good job of that with the corner. When I've looked at the town and looked at these four corners, you almost seen every architectural style since the burning of the town. But it has that incremental quality, and you saw the influences at the time. A lot of this seems to be takes some old and some new elements to it. I noticed your tagline there is something new. So with the corner, I saw some of those more modern windows. They had the transom windows. They weren't necessarily divided light. I was going to ask if there's some opportunities moving off the corner into some other I keep calling them panels. There may be opportunity to do some of the divided light windows that may match some of the other architecture being recessed. So I was going to recommend, is that something you can think about doing? Looking at the Washington Street facade, reviewing it, that does a good job of variation. The Jefferson Street facade has, because it's so long and such a large mass, I think there may be some opportunities to maybe change the window types, look at some other elements. I was going to suggest kind of going through each elevation. But the reason why I wanted to review these policies, again, talk about how we've based it on our guidance of the policies incorporating these architectural styles and the fact that this has many elements of old and new in its design. So I would agree it meets a lot of these
Criteria, yeah.
or goals. So good job on doing that. So, Mr. Chairman, how do you want to handle next? I had gone through and kind of made notes on each of the.
Well, one thing I'd like to review, which isn't really in the documentation, since this is such a larger building. My concern with this building, of course, is you're dealing with residential mixed in with business, so the size and scale really sticks out. So vegetation and the vegetation plan you have will be a substantial part of what we do here. For the landscape package, and so we definitely would need to review the landscape package with all this as well.
Is that something that you're going to do separately, or is that going to be a part of this? Are we going to do, see, to me, everything kind of ties in together, so I'm
Yeah,
kind of reluctant to like take them
piece by
piecemeal.
piece, yeah.
I think from our perspective, it's a little bit of a fine line because our intent with coming today was to talk about the building design and materials.
Sure.
However, we do have a civil and site package, which will have a landscaping package or plan that's enveloped with that, and that will be within the guidelines of the ordinance, but also heavily landscaped. Hilton has a high expectation for landscaping as well and maintenance of their property and the land. And so I think in conjunction with the town ordinance requirements, as well as the brand standards and making sure that we are making everybody happy,
Right.
landscaping will be a major part of the design on this. I don't know if it's appropriate to present it here, or if that is more wrapped into the planning review or not.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to that? Because I think there is a conundrum there that the landscaping
Yeah.
plan has to be at the site plan stage, and so that's
the
a couple-
materials.
Yeah, well, a lot of the materials are dictated by our ordinance as well, or at least they're strong suggestions. So I don't know how the body wants to proceed, but it is a little bit difficult for the applicant to even make statements about that until such time as they're ready to prepare their site plan.
Can I make a suggestion? So I thought was a great idea was the joint planning commission ARB meeting. Unfortunately, we couldn't make that happen. Looking at the ordinances with that, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, is street trees falls within the ARB review.
Yes.
Landscaping alternatives or alternative plantings come within that. I would agree that landscaping will do a lot to soften kind of the scale and massing of the building. So I think separately, much like the signs are being handled separately, that opportunity, when it presents itself, and we would encourage that we can be a part of that discussion to see how it relates to that. Showed a lot of landscaping in here, softening it.
Yeah.
I did have a question, though. It does have so I think that's how we handle the landscaping part of it. That's how I'd suggest we handle the landscaping when it comes up through the site plan phase. That being said, the sidewalks, so looking at your layout plan, are you having sidewalks on all 4 sides or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sidewalks will they'll wrap all sides of the building except for the side facing the museum. And that's only because of a constraint between the property line, the setbacks, and the buffer requirement. So with that restriction, we don't have room for sidewalks along that side of the building.
Okay. I'm sorry, I meant more along Jefferson,
street.
Payne
Yes,
Lane.
Jefferson
Yeah.
and
Payne Lane.
Washington will both have
Payne Lane
sidewalks.
as well, and Fayette, kind of all the way around?
Payne Lane is behind.
Let me.
I guess here's why I'm asking, is that, so part of your illustrative, we're trying to get a sense of scale of how close you are to the street.
Yeah.
And, again, this isn't a negative, just trying to understand so it looks like on Jefferson or Washington Street, you're setting off your setback line from the back of the right-of-way or the back of the sidewalk?
Yes, so
Okay.
the property line is actually being adjusted in our site plan to accommodate a turn lane.
On Jefferson Street, yeah.
Right.
And
Okay.
so that property line has been pushed back. But no, we do not have,
Let me show you example one I'm talking about. Can you go back to the one elevation that shows the corner?
Grab the mic.
We can also unroll the larger site plan too.
yes.
So, sidewalks around it are good. We're talking about, where's the one that's on the other corner? Mr. Patient? So what I was trying to figure out was, were you setting off the 10 feet? So this is, I would assume, is the current sidewalk.
Restructure difficult, yep, to eliminate the curbs.
So you have this here. So I think that's fine. What it does is it says you're going to have a 5-foot sidewalk, then you're set off 10 feet,
Right.
and then this is where you're having your outdoor seating? Okay, that gives us a better sense of how close you are. The town center site plan over here was having 10-foot sidewalks, so I think that wider breadth there makes sense. And so you're intending to carry that, once the turn lane's in, you're expecting to carry that around as well?
I think if I go back to the site plan, I think that we actually are only required to have a 5-foot setback from the property line. We are not broaching that. We are 10 feet off of the curb or off of the property line. But I don't know if it's not 10 feet plus 10 feet more.
Okay.
I don't think.
Just trying to get a sense of how close you are, how much activity area that's outside.
Not as close as Bull Run County was,
Oh, okay.
but it's not as far back as, like Big Fred's was.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So in this depiction, you show, I guess, that's on the far right, that single story out front, that's your restaurant?
Yeah. No, the restaurant is actually this whole
Okay.
area.
It's the meeting space that bumps
The
out?
meeting space is the area that bumps out, and that is where we are 10 feet from the back curb.
Okay.
So this portion, and then the building recesses back from there, and so we have an additional 10 or 15 feet from that point.
So did you guys
And
catch that
that's-
on the elevation? So
Yeah.
on the right side,
Yeah.
comes out. You're going to go along the sidewalk, have that 10-foot relief back to the main facade. So you're going to have a pretty open space out in front.
Right.
The archways there, do they have the windows, and then, I don't call it a transom, but under the arch, is that window as well?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Um,
And then one access door
So
in and out of the dining area.
one access door and out of the dining area, okay. Do you mind if we just kind of comment on this facade, and then we'll go to the other ones, or are we okay?
Go.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, did you just say glass, kind of, you'll have the,
Yes, so
Okay.
we've got glass along here,
Okay.
and it's glass all the way up to the arc.
Okay.
And then we've got windows along the meeting space as well. There are 2 exit doors off of the meeting space directly to the sidewalk.
And then you said the windows, not on the corner, but the next panel over, those are, the second-story windows are recessed a little bit?
The second story?
Yeah.
Those go way back.
Okay.
The first floor meeting space projects out beyond
Okay.
the building footprint.
Gotcha.
And then what does the, looking for? The top of the roof, like, what is the roof line like?
It's a flat roof.
Flat roof.
With parapets.
And then you can't really see it from here, but up on the corner, let me move off a second. Back to the windows. So this picture seems to suggest they're glazed or reflective. Is that
No,
correct?
that's just
Okay.
a sense of modeling.
Okay.
It'll be clear glass.
And maybe that's what's making it.
Yeah, it won't
modern to
truly
me
be
is
that.
Shows a big tree across the street.
No, we're not building a DC high rise.
No, I know, but maybe that's what's making the image look more modern to me, is that mirror
That
thing
makes
that I'm
sense.
getting.
Yeah, it'll be clear glass.
It might not necessarily be the windows, but, you know,
No, I think
sometimes.
you're right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then the canopy, for lack of a better term, that comes off of the corner, that's a good way to set the corner.
Yep.
The metal, is a metal canopy?
Yes.
Okay. Has some height to it, I guess?
It actually, the canopy itself only is, I think, 18 inches
Okay.
maximum. It's just a flat roof canopy, and then the rest of the material that's beyond that would be either painted wood or aluminum, and the intent is sort of to have a storefront type presence, and a historical relevance there.
So the access to the restaurant would be in through those doors.
Yep, there's doors here,
So right
and here,
there.
and then for in and out of patio space, it would be there's a door here.
Oh, there is another, okay. And then the guest entrance is around
Yep, on the parking lot
on the
side.
parking lot side, okay.
Yeah, and it's difficult to see any type of detailing on this. Now, this isn't an awning, right? This is
Yes, on the,
popping out at like 18 inches, is that?
no, height is 18 inches. So I think this.
Oh, the height.
Are you referring to the
18 inches?
canopy that's here in
Yeah.
the corner? That would project out 5 feet.
Yeah, because it's difficult to see any type of detailing on it, if it's just one big flat piece of metal
Oh, she's got
or...
a big one.
There's another more close-up view of the corner.
I'm trying not to make noise with these, and it's really hard.
It is hard to read in this view.
Yeah.
However, you can sort of read it by there's a wood underneath.
Like a ceiling in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
One of your elevation shows the
There
side
it
of
is. I
shows-
see it now.
So you start to see it. So you start to read it.
No, I
here.
can see it now. Yeah.
And that would also have just some recessed lights in it for illumination.
But the outside edge, see, I can't see any type of detailing, if it's just a flat edge, or
I
if there's
have
some
it as
type
a-
of
as
like
a channel, like
cornice
steel-
or...
Steel channel style right now.
What's this, like an I-beam maybe?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's an I-beam.
And all the windows are aluminum?
Yes.
Okay, well, I didn't see, you do have the divided light down on the first floor.
Yes, they all
Okay.
do.
Yeah, they do.
I didn't see that element.
They all of the windows do have
It's
mullions.
difficult to see, yeah.
In the bottom.
None on the top.
So like these fixtures here are divided
Yes,
by
yes,
3.
but not,
No,
the
I
second
don't-
floor.
I don't have any horizontal.
you see what I'm saying?
This one, yes, they're here
Yeah,
on each one of them. They're divided into 4. They're divided into
No,
4
yes,
and
yes, but
horizontal.
not, okay.
So this, we're talking about the transit up here have a divided light.
Yep.
Yeah.
Should I use my official voice? This is the divided light up top. It would not necessarily, this would have the transoms up here. And these are windows that open?
There is a change in floor to floor height between the two. And so this line is this height here is the same on all floors. And where we have a little bit of
So the graphic showed that there's being held with some sort of structural element.
Cable structure.
Cable that will be in here as well.
Yep, and that's only going to be that the canopy ends here.
That's similar to other things we've done in what else there? So, what else do we have here? Do we have any recommendations on the Washington Street facade? On window-wise, the cornice detail on the corner,
Yes,
up at the top, is that just a round medallion, or what?
it
What
is.
is that? Okay.
It is, but we are flexible on that.
What are you speaking of? Which,
So if you, another elevation, up on the corner, up at the top, either the parapet or the cornice, it has.
yes, I see now.
Has those round medallions. If that's some detail, we could,
It was a detail just to dress up the corner where we otherwise just had a flat panel.
Okay.
And that was sort of bringing in, again, some of the historical relevance with the medallion aspect to it. And also reading off of the museum, there's the round venting there and sort of pulling that through
Right.
to carry on.
well, that's a good,
I think it's a nice,
oh, nice detail, yeah.
yeah.
It's just hard to see it in these. I realize if you sent us the full-size drawing, we'd crash our computers. So you bring up a good point, though. What elements were you carrying over from the museum? So you have the round vents,
So it was
medallion.
sort of pulling
Okay.
in the circular medallion
Okay.
aspect of it.
Moving to the other side of the building, I had a question about the conference space. Okay. Way on the other side. Does that have a parapet wall to it?
It does?
Okay.
Yep.
So here's a couple things I'm thinking linkages with. That's exactly where Big Fred's is. It almost looks the same dimensions as Big Fred's. What I wanted to pull out is I printed off some of the graphics of the other ones.
Would probably be the best to look at.
I guess we shouldn't call it Big Fred's. It was before Big Fred's. It was something else. So, okay. Around that, you have a cap on, does it look like you have a cap on the parapet?
I do, I have cupping, and then I also have the corbelling detail wraps around the building here at the top, and that wraps around right around the side.
Okay. And then that's the same thing. It's the windows, same windows as the other elements.
Corner, yep.
Okay. And is that going to be a walkable space where you can walk on top of it, or is it just?
No. Not accessible.
Just a flat roof.
So, now on the side of it, well, we'll go somewhere else.
Are
The-
all the mechanical things on the roof?
All of the equipment will be on the roof.
On the roof.
Yep, and it will be concealed and screened as required so that it's not
Yeah.
visible from the street.
It's a good use of space.
We'll come back to that facade. The stone, the sandstone, you had some of, the one house that was back on the back, it had that light kind of
Yes.
sandstone off Bull Run Mountain. So I think incorporating that, I think incorporate some of that design elements that are in
No,
it.
I do. They did good.
Now, the outdoor patio's out front, you're not, I thought that was a restaurant initially, and it looks like you're tying some of the sidewalks into it there. Okay. Again, going back, any questions on the windows here, the windows types,
No,
requirement to be
again,
clear
I think
glass?
it could just be that the reflection that's showing up in the rendering is what's causing me to think they look modern.
Yeah, I had the same impression, but if it's not, it's probably what we're, if it's what we're thinking of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there an interest in seeing more of the detail of the cornice up on the corner? Do we want to see more of the detail of what that is?
On the corner of Washington and Jefferson?
Yep, up at top.
Yeah, I would like to see that, because it looks like you got something vented in there. And, I don't.
It has medallions in it, right?
Yeah, there are
Well, yeah.
medallions on the
Yeah,
corner. as an
medallions, I can't
As an
see what the,
accent detail.
I can't see what the accent is between the two medallions, if those are like vents, or what are
No,
they?
it would just be relief
Just
in
Yeah.
the cornice, just for additional detailing.
Okay,
And that was, the question still, if that's ephes or going to be masonry?
Correct. From an economical standpoint, we would prefer to do EFS, and finish it to match, consistent with the other materials that we've selected. EFS has come a long way in the finishes.
I think that's my question, like, what is the upkeep and the lifespan of the EFS as opposed to?
I think currently, from my experience, they have upward of 15 to 25-year warranties on them. There are treatments that we can do to the actual paint surface. Some of the technology now has a bacteria in it that eats any grime and dirt.
Right.
So there are special treatments of that sort that we can do to prevent them from getting dirty. But from a wear and tear standpoint, in my experience, that's not really been an issue in any of the buildings that we've done this application in.
Okay.
Do we have an official opinion on that, or, I can't remember, do our guidelines say, Emily, prohibition on
On
EFS?
EFS, I don't
It
think so.
doesn't
I don't think it
prohibit, it
mentions
just doesn't,
EFS, yeah.
it doesn't list
I
it.
think Hardy Plank is the only thing that is really mentioned in there, right?
I mean, 4 stories high,
Ken, you can
You're not
really
gonna see
see the
it?
detail. Look at how see how the detail is up there on the top.
Yeah. Yeah, because when I try to expand it, I get pixelation on my pictures in here. I'm still a little concerned about, I keep calling it an awning, but it's not the awning. It's the porch on the corner.
It is an awning, it's the overhang,
Yeah, the overhang.
the portico.
Just that detail. I can't really see the detail to understand what's going on there. Like you said, it's kind of like an I-beam flat face, or,
Let's see if it's a little bit more legible in the
That's the
elevation.
back
and I'm
one.
assuming you're going to do that with the back as well, the same type of materials and,
So if you look at the elevation, the Washington Street elevation sheet, A203, on the bottom left corner, you can read that profile of how it's currently detailed.
you know, it might need to, keep that on here.
what's that?
Might need to print it. The page she's referring to,
Oh,
203.
I'm not
A203.
sure. It's the elevation. I think it's like one of the last.
What page is it?
Yeah.
Page 27 and 28 in the
203.
packet?
27.
This, you want to look at this closer up, or that other page?
No, I think he's saying it's really hard to read because of the coloring of this one.
I think
Yeah, it
he's
just
talking
looks
about the
black and
detail
flat.
of
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
If you go to the elevation, you can see it.
Yep.
Next
So
one.
this bottom corner down here. Right here.
Oh,
Probably still hard to read at this scale. You do.
right there.
There you can read it. So it's essentially a I-beam or a C-channel profile where the flanges would extend out at the corners here and here.
Is there any kind of detailing that we could get on there to make it? Is that-
We could, and I think yeah, I think down the street there are some awnings that have an additional, almost like a decorative.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
Like a
Yes, Bloom
I
Building.
don't know how to describe that, but
Says, yeah, like an I-beam, we actually approved an I-beam setup like this, but that was for the property in the industrial area.
Yes,
And
yes.
this brings up more of an industrial
Yes,
approach as opposed to something
sure,
that might
we'd
be.
be happy to incorporate that.
but if we could incorporate something a little bit, not too much detail, but just something that,
The band above it, is that metal as well, or is it painted the darker color?
That would be painted.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can see there's also detail in here.
Yes.
That's the stuff that I was missing. You can see how you're breaking up the lengths.
mhm,
You even got a top here.
Yes.
To cap it in.
the relief, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, wanting to look at some of the, more of the awning details, is that something, or more of a decorative
She
detail?
said
recommend?
that's something that she can work on. I mean,
It sounds
And-
like you also want the columns there, particularly the column on the corner.
Yes. And also, what about the awning on the, over
back.
the check-in, the portico?
So we would do, so there's a canopy that extends out from the vestibule underneath the
Yes.
drop-off, and we would do that consistent with this one.
Okay,
So the styling of those two would match. The actual drop-off canopy would probably be a little bit different in nature, just because.
of course, of
Height,
course.
but we
Yeah.
would absolutely tie those in.
And-
with-
Absolutely.
And I'm assuming that there'll be a little bit more mass on the portico and back, so it wouldn't be cantilevered, it would probably be a post holding it, right?
Well,
So
what
cars
we'll-
can pass
what we'll
under it
have
or
is
something?
We'll have a canopy that extends out of the vestibule, and then underneath, that will extend underneath the porte-cochere drop-off zone.
Right.
And so that will extend out, it'll be consistent with this, again, being 4, 5, 6 feet extension before the overhang of the porte-cochere sort of overlaps.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Picture in here.
No one's mentioning the Crossroads. Good branding.
Page 22.
I saw it.
Okay, you're being very patient with our questions. Well, that showed that there. It showed, I guess you have some soldering. Before you go up too much further, Emily, can I borrow that other mic? Chris, can I borrow your mic?
Here's the top corner that you guys were questioning.
Thank you. Do we have any recommendations on that? That's an interesting kind of detail there.
I think maybe,
I would do without the horizontal.
I was just about to say that.
Challenge in modeling.
3D modeling.
I would eliminate the horizontal.
So this is part of it too. You have the relief, so you kind of have a raised column, and then you set it back a little bit, right? And then you
And
have
then the different
soldering.
color brick,
Okay. I like it.
yeah.
And this is kind of the cap.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the relief between the two buildings right here? Was that just to break it up?
Yes.
That's
it's a small inset. I think it's less than 2 feet.
Okay.
But just to break up the corner piece from the next component.
And
Is that
it's,
the same,
what over
plain?
here? Which material is it?
the
Yes, so at
sandstone?
the top there, you're seeing is
Yeah.
consistent with this.
That one, that's what I thought.
Is that recessed any, or is that the same plane?
No, it's recessed.
It's
I think.
recessed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a good break up there.
And okay, now I'm gonna completely go off. The doors, for, not the doors that people come in and out of, but I don't know if it's like emergency exits, whatever, the solid doors.
Okay.
Are they just gonna be,
Those would be painted, ideally, we would paint them to match paint one, which would be the iron ore,
okay,
the dark color. Those solid doors only occur at the utility room and the utility room, the kitchen, and the 2 stairs. So there would be a total of
just four?
4,
Okay,
possibly 5, but I think right now we only
Okay.
have 4.
and none of them are,
One of them would be on Jefferson.
yeah, I was
and
gonna
that's
say,
utility
and the other
room,
ones would be around
and
the,
all the others would be on the corners.
okay,
Or on the ends.
right, right,
Was
right.
that one element you're talking about?
What, the doors?
The door, okay. Gotcha. I was thinking about something else, so.
And it was like utility doors, not the doors that people are gonna use every day, but more that the staff would be using.
And then this is the 1-story extension that you're showing there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you were looking at having lights, I guess, between each of those columns on the street? Okay. So,
They aren't showing here, but they are intended to be between,
poor Emily.
They are
Should get you a
intended to go
mouse.
Between each of these large windows.
Okay. So may I take some summary, I guess, on the Washington Street facade? Some interest in looking at the lighting fixtures, some more detail on the medallions, on the cornice on the
Yes.
corner. More awning details, I guess more of the
Yes.
decorative nature of the awning. And then we had some recommendations on keeping the columns. Okay.
I don't really have anything else.
And I think here you can see more of the detail in the mullion, the breaking up of the mullion.
Mm-hmm.
What's what I said, the change in height, focusing on the corner, on the end where you have the block on the 4th story, that sets back a little bit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yep, there's a setback here.
Those are the queen rooms and the king rooms and okay. Trying to make a joke. Okay, can we switch to the Jefferson, Mr. Chairman? This Jefferson facade. Okay. Okay, so the awning would wrap around the corner, and where would that end?
That stops here.
Okay.
You're going the wrong way.
The elevation.
So that's just around.
It extends from here, and that projects out, again, I think it's 5 or 6 feet.
Mhm.
And then it extends back to the end of the storefront. This is all open to the bar and public space,
Okay.
bar and restaurant inside. And then these areas over here are, these first 2 windows along here are back of house areas. And so those will all have window treatments.
Okay,
Can you scan that a little?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say, go
So
that.
that, stop right there. On your site plan, you show this as a
As a vestibule.
vestibule, okay.
Yes,
So
so we
that
did-
pull, that comes out?
We did have a vestibule here. We've since removed it since we
The
did
turn
site
lane.
plan. And that was removed because of, due to security, and visibility from the front desk.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
so with the main entrance being really on the corner, it's very visible for the staff.
I get that,
And
yeah.
then, and that opens up to, this is the elevator lobby, and then this is a solid wall because of the elevator.
Okay,
I just had a question about having those windows all the way up. If you look at the massing of the whole building, those window types seem out of place.
Sure.
Is there a way to just, it's not going to have a door there at the bottom though? Or it is going to have a door?
No, we will not have a door there.
I see what you're saying there.
Happy
Okay.
to scale them down.
If you zoom, Emily, could you zoom out just a little bit? Okay.
The reason we did do them large is just because from, guest experience, when you're standing at the elevator.
Oh,
and
light.
waiting,
Yeah,
it's
light.
nice
Yeah.
The
to kind
whole-
of look out and see, but
Right.
we'd be happy to look at that. And
So when I first thought it was a vestibule and an entrance, I was going to say, could we look at doing another canopy
Oh.
along Jefferson Street? That would make sense if that was a vestibule that
tie
people
that
were
in.
going in and out of.
Yeah,
Um,
but you wouldn't want to do it because then it's gonna draw people's eye there, and they're gonna get there and say, there's no door here.
Exactly. So I was thinking kind of more of the porches there. So, and then that blank wall that's beside it, the elevator wall, is there a way to do faux windows to match some of the other ones in there to kind of break up that?
Balance
It's
it
empty
out.
space.
we could,
Correct.
I think maybe one other way that we address that, really from this whole section is doing down to the elevation down here. It's sort of consistent with this, but also if you go to the second page,
To me,
or the next page.
the Washington Street side with all the relief and the different setbacks is so interesting. And I get that this is a side street, but for us, it's also a gateway into our town from the Gainesville area. A lot of people use that road. So to me, I would like to see a little bit more of,
This is maybe one other feature that we could, especially where we don't have windows, in some of those areas on the first floor, is that, so we've done these sort of arched openings.
right,
But they're solid. But it's sort of to mimic what's happening along Washington Street.
Mhm.
And so it would help us from the aspect of, having windows in back of house and utility areas is not ideal. And so that's a way to sort of tie in those two elevations, but still making it attractive at the pedestrian level.
Could you go back to the Jefferson Street facade? I guess that's the Ping Lane facade.
Similar to the Foster's building
yes, yeah,
release.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're in here, we're just thinking not so much eliminating it, but just bringing it maybe up to match.
Bringing it
So you
up.
have that light and,
Sure.
and you have that, I know that's the HVAC vent too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, on second thought, the vents on this floor right here would go away.
They would. Okay.
Yeah, because those are.
Something just kind of brings some consistency across. And then I guess we're talking about doing the arc here.
Doing that up above.
What do you guys think, having it, see how it's just kind of, it seems, I don't know the
It's a
right
big
vocabulary
blank,
for
it's a
it.
big blank space there.
Yeah, this, along with the windows,
Mm-hmm.
this makes sense because it's its own,
Yes.
I call it panel. This is the next panel. This is kind of the next panel that comes out. So,
Smaller, would you then look at it and say, well, you have the large
Missing
windows
Yeah.
on the right, and everything else is now small,
I'm just saying that the Washington Street side is, the view is so interesting, it's so,
Yeah.
there's so much depth to it.
Do you maybe
So here's,
make part of the arch on the first floor of Washington Street on the Jefferson side, and that gives you an interest, a visual interest?
I mean, doing something like this over here?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were talking about with that.
Show me again, do it.
But I would repeat that. I would repeat that.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I think, and then, despite the fact that those, they wouldn't all be windows, so this one, and these three center ones would be windows. We would still have an arch here, but they would be solid brick.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Like
Now-
what, show me, I don't think I'm understanding, yeah.
So we would do this feature.
Yes.
With the arcs.
Yes,
We would do those on the three center ones.
yes,
And then the outside ones, where this is actually an electrical room
Mhm.
also. And so we would do that as an arc, but it would be a solid infill. So
I-
solid brick infill.
I think
on the
that would
side.
add a little bit nicer detail to that side, since it's also a gateway into the town.
Now, what I do appreciate is that this is four-sided architecture, so if you were to look at it from the Fayette Street side, it matches this same,
No, I get that.
so I don't think we would necessarily have to mimic this on the other side.
No, no,
where the
no, no,
entrance
no.
is, yeah.
I'm just worried because that is another entryway into our town, so that's almost like another front side of the building.
I think that would be a nice enhancement.
Yeah.
And then up on top, does that window seem out of place in the concrete? Yes, that kind of sets it off too. So I think maybe with the arches and these windows, this one seems kind of out of, you're taking this very well, not trying to insult
No, no, no,
your work.
I
This is a great job. You've done a lot, you guys have done some great work. Thank you. So
Yeah.
almost seems like you're going to walk
But
out.
that's the whole, like, elevator bank, is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
so I think we
when
still
people
keep the
are
windows.
standing there.
Maybe it's 3 windows, but maybe you just raise it up a little bit so it's a little bit more in the dimensions of this. I fully agree that it needs to be as much light as possible. That natural light's great, but maybe closer to matching the dimensions of that, if that's possible.
Still keep them wide, but
Exactly. That's when,
we shorten them up shorter.
correct, be proportional to them. But those were going floor to ceiling is basically what you were saying.
Yeah.
So, cool.
I think you guys did a great job. I'm very impressed with the,
So on this one, Jefferson Street, you're dropping from Washington Street down to Payne Lane. I think you show a little,
Property?
the property.
yeah.
So one
The
of the
actual
things,
slope of the property is what you're
Exactly.
speaking of, okay.
so I think you're showing this a little bit here, but what do you think about doing like a water table to highlight that change in elevation? Like a low water table along the bottom?
Our building won't change elevation, and we haven't gotten through the grading
Okay.
yet of the building. So I don't know, that is something that we were talking about yesterday, is what, are there any major concerns? Are there any major drop-off areas or areas for ramping? And as of right now, the way it looks is that we won't have any grade change greater than 6 inches within 5 to 10 feet of the building. So,
Okay,
I don't,
So you're
I
gonna,
can't speak to how we're going to address the current conditions and how it will be resolved with grading, but right now, there is no physical shifting of the building elevation.
I didn't see it was a problem at all. I was just thinking if you had to show, if your highest point was on Jefferson and you were going level back and you weren't kind of dropping down,
Yeah,
that if you had, let me go up again. Where's the laser pointer? The thinking was, that let's say your highest point here, and let's say Jefferson comes down like this, that you would offset that. I was just gonna suggest doing it with a water table, just add some interest. You're not, all of a sudden you have all this additional brick space here.
I think based on.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, but based on the current grading, we have the same level is all the way consistent to here, which.
Oh, so you don't think
Yeah,
the drop-offs
I
like
think
that?
the drop-off starts farther down the road.
Start until here.
And then your parking's over here? Okay.
And from there to the end of the building is only
I think the hill starts farther down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not aware of it being an issue yet.
We might come back to that.
That could be a grading, just a little hill grading to fill it in.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a negative, but just a way to,
If we did have a change in elevation.
tying it back in, we had a lot of the buildings out there had stone foundations, which not necessarily a water table, but gave some character.
Okay.
So if that was, you were trying to overcome grade, that was gonna be one suggestion on how you dealt with it.
I will
But if you don't have to change grade, you're
I'll
fine.
certainly keep that in mind if we have to resolve to that.
So this, on the last, what else do I have? Anybody else? I'm doing what I always do and talk a lot, so.
What was finalized with this?
I think with that,
Arch with fill-ins here, but what about up top here?
I think the suggestion, we're talking about the middle panels again, would be the second and third floor would try to make them, keep them 3 panels, but keep them maybe more proportional in height to what's next to it.
Okay,
And then do the same with the one on the roof above. Do arches on the first level
Like
And then-
on the Washington Street
with
side.
fill-in.
with fill-in, and then, I'm sorry, I just forgot your first name.
Jennifer.
Jennifer. So the second and third stories, those blank walls with the elevator shaft, were you going to do more relief there, or maybe an inset, or a faux window, or just leave it blank?
Yes, we would do the solid arcs on these 2 portions.
Okay.
I think it would be better just to leave it be blank.
Okay.
I think trying to embellish it is gonna bring more attention than,
That's a good point.
Fair point.
That's why
Accepted.
she's the architect.
She's doing really well. Okay, in the back, seems kind of a, and so you're stepping back, and then you have, is it the elevator or the stairs that you're
Stairs.
trying to do? Okay.
there.
That, where the other ones seem kind of symmetrical and have this panel, this one back here is kind of a, I know it's a challenge architecturally, but trying
The
to,
stair is actually gonna drop down as well. So
It
the
is, okay.
stair, I've since lowered this down to
Okay.
be consistent with this, and so that the materials will be consistent with that.
really?
Looks good.
Okay.
Yep.
That was going to be the suggestion, is you wrap it all the way around.
But I will say that this section right here steps back a few feet from here, but the materials will be consistent.
Does that make
That's the
sense?
stairwell.
So
Yeah.
it's, if you look at the,
Yeah.
do you have the next, yeah, it's short, it's not as, it's the same width as
Yeah.
the building.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But if you're going to wrap it with that masonry, I think that'll, so you're going to drop the height, wrap it?
Yep.
Okay. Now,
It looks good.
on this facade, I just forgot my language.
Same lane facade?
No, the Jefferson Street
Okay.
facade, the bays. Is that the right architectural term, bays?
Yeah.
So this middle bay, or the one second to the end with the arched windows, again, divided light. There's no divided light on this side. Do we want any, are we okay with these windows the way they are with the transoms and the windows?
I mean, again, I'm going to revert back to saying that I think that my comment about it being modern has a lot to do with the reflection. So I think you're getting the elements from other parts of the detail on the building as opposed to the window.
So no comments on windows?
I think yeah.
Let's go to Payne Lane.
Okay. Martin, we doing okay? Okay. So I'm going to point.
Okay, so,
This is where it just wraps around. So remember you had the one panel, this wraps around, then
That's
comes
gonna
out
lower-
again.
That's gonna lower down here, and that will all be the limestone
Awesome.
on the top.
so those are they both stairwells on
No,
either?
one is storage,
Okay,
one is storage, and one is stairwell.
So that changing, this is now a large wall coming up Jefferson Street.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Would you have any ideas on how to maybe break it up a little bit more? So you're
I
not
mean,
just
that's
seeing
going
it
to do a
large.
lot to bring it around.
Yeah.
Oh, just, yeah, setting the,
Yeah.
oh, yeah. So this would bring it down, and this would just be the the brick.
Yeah, I think we're gonna rely on landscaping
Okay,
for
and
this
then
elevation.
you have the soldering and
Just
some other things.
primarily because of how these spaces are being used on the interior. We are carrying all of the brick detail around the building, so despite the fact that it relatively windowless facade. It is going to be detailed, and I will also point out that, you know, this, even though you're seeing a lot of brick right now, this is really the end elevation.
Yes,
that you're
yes,
seeing
yeah.
in the street.
So
And
you'll
the
see
rest
some
of it,
depth change. Okay.
because it's just so flat right now, in the flat elevation.
Dimension,
It
yeah.
really is a lot of brick. And so I think breaking up those materials on the top, and then also just understanding that it's really just a smaller section that's facing the street.
Okay, so if you move over, go to the left, Emily. These archways here, are they, I can't see that, are they delivery? No?
Nope, so that's what I was suggesting on the Jefferson Street
Mhm.
side, where they would be a solid fill. So
Okay.
again, this is an area, this is the kitchen space.
Gotcha, okay.
This is
Across the
inset
parking
of the
lot,
parking area. So this is, where you're seeing this is really up against the drop-off zone.
Okay,
And so it's just, how do you use a utility wall and make it a little bit more interesting on the exterior? And so the addition of the detailing here plus landscaping to sort of frame that space and make it just a little bit more interesting when it's otherwise has no openings.
okay.
Awning over the rear door on the, would that do anything, any relief?
We will have awnings on the exterior doors. All
Will they-
exterior doors will have.
So it'll be the same, like whatever detail you come up with for that front corner
Yeah,
will
so on
match them going around the
edge of
building?
On the stair, at the two stairwells, we will have.
Yeah,
Okay, can you show those? as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
That'll be nice, that'll break that up as well.
Yeah,
There's a little awning
exactly.
over the entrance.
okay.
Awning over exits. Now, this was that's the canopy.
Yes.
Could you go to the site plan real quick? Before we go back? So this went away. The vestibule went away.
Yes.
Okay. This is what we we're just talking about with the
Mm-hmm,
relief, and that's a, like a another
An
vestibule?
inset door.
Oh, it is an inset door, but it's gonna have a awning out here, okay.
Right, because we'll have a inset door here that will exit from the corridor.
Okay.
And then there's also a door exit from the stair, and there's a utility door. So the utility door we will not cover, but we will add a cover canopy here.
Cool. And then you're gonna have the landscaping here and here that'll
Yes.
mask that, okay. What was these, I was gonna ask, what were these right here? Planters, okay.
okay, we like
This is
flowers. Sh- The access is over here,
With the pointer?
no,
So the main entrance is right.
yes, but I mean from the street. Access from driving your car,
Oh,
Sorry.
Yeah, it'll be over here off Fayette.
okay.
And it's one entrance in out. We did meet with the fire marshal yesterday. He approved that.
Total sidebar, but do you have a dumpster pad? Are you gonna need a dumpster pad?
Yes.
Okay.
Dumpster pad will be here. Materials will be consistent with the building, so it will be a brick enclosure.
Okay.
Detailing will be consistent, and it will also be landscaped all the way around.
Do you wanna throw that in now, just to get it
Sure.
approved, or we can do it later? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have any images of it, but yes.
Okay, with some of the amendments, that's typically how we've handled it before, is just generally matching the materials of the building.
Yeah,
Um,
how about the doors to it? We usually discuss those too.
okay. There's some recommendations on doors.
On the
and-
doors. So typically we would do an aluminum door. We'll do it black to match the paint 01.
So it would match the awnings and all that, it
Yep.
would just kind
And
of
it
all
would
tie
be
together.
two large doors.
So can you zoom into the pain lane back again, please? Okay. So those rear doors would have the awnings as well. Okay.
So
And that's the back of the conference space?
This one is an exit stair.
Okay.
It has a pass through to the meeting room for exiting. This is the kitchen delivery door. I probably would not put an awning or canopy on that door.
And you're gonna have landscaping there, so that'll be,
Correct.
okay. Okay.
All right,
Anything else on Pain Lane? My big question was wrapping, so that was cool.
I guess my one last thing on the, go to the, I'm guessing this is Washington Street side. Yes. No.
This is Fayette.
Yeah.
So the museum's going to block
Go
part
to
of
the
it.
Washington Street side. Please. So the arches over the top windows there, how they are a solid piece.
Yes.
I don't know, I mean, a lot of the stuff that we've seen has something in the center,
Keystone? or-
keystone or something. Do you think that might be, make it too busy?
I had that in at one point, and I took it out for that exact
Okay,
reason.
all right.
And also sort of, you know, to the point that you brought up earlier, it's sort of a blend between new and old.
Correct.
And so I think keeping it simple, there is a lot going on this building
Mm-hmm.
with the detailing, and so, you know, trying to, it's
To balance
it's that
it.
push and pull of
Mhm.
where do you put the detail in to make it noticeable, but also scaling back where you can, and so that's,
Got it.
that was the reason that I ended up going with the simple.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm good.
Can we go to the Fayette real quick?
So where the portico is there, the drive up, is that what you're looking?
No, so Fayette, so, yeah, that's where the portico or the first story is going to bump out onto Washington. I think most of the museum's going to block that. So, and then the vegetation's going to soften that as well, so, oops.
It's had enough.
Right.
So this,
Refresh the memory.
let me get you a mouse. So it sounds like here, this comes out, we're estimating 5 feet, so you'll have the sidewalk here and some of the landscaping. This is flush, it's not out, right?
Correct.
It's flush with the building. Again, this is kind of, that breaks up, so this is kind of what you're doing on the back, right? Okay.
Exactly.
With these massing walls.
And it's actually gonna be,
So-
it'll be a shorter,
Well, sure, yeah, it'll be
a
fine.
little bit shorter on that.
So this is not a door, that's just windows?
Windows.
Yes, so if you're standing at the museum, at the side door, this is what you're going to be looking into.
Okay,
Um,
And this will overlook the small patio
yes.
area.
But again, you have to remember, there's a lot of landscaping that's going to be along the
Well,
side
you're going to have the
there.
museum from here
Yeah.
to here that's going to block it. I mean, you'll see some of the top.
But I mean, if you're walking, if you're a pedestrian and you're on the sidewalk, you're going to be able to see the,
Definitely. And then, I'm sorry, the outdoor, there was an outdoor patio here too?
Not on this side.
Okay.
This is where we're pretty tied up to the property line on this side, so it's just gonna be heavily landscaped, within the guidelines.
Gotcha. I think we can probably work on some access from our side later on.
maybe. Okay.
I do wanna ask one question of you. I know we've excluded signage, but in, anticipation of submitting our signage package, Hilton has asked us to put a blade sign on the front corner of the building,
What's the blade
Um,
sign say?
and it's shown on the,
They do have it in detail here.
the Jefferson elevation.
Yeah, it's kind of off
It's
the
shown
corner.
in the renderings, it kind of blends in a little bit, but I just want to know,
It is right
kind of
there,
going
too.
into that next, that submittal, is there acceptance of a blade sign at the corner, or is that something that would not be approved?
Well, if you saw in one of the COAs tonight,
Yeah.
there was a hanging sign type of thing.
Yes.
It would fall within that type of,
It would probably be much longer
yeah,
in length, yeah, so it would be essentially this at the
So
corner.
I'm trying to say how the planning commission has purview over how many signs, where they're right?
yeah,
You?
yeah.
Planning commission?
Just
We,
under the
we
sign
get to see
ordinance.
how pretty it is
They don't,
and
they approve
location,
signs?
but
They don't approve signs.
they approve how many signs,
Oh,
location.
how many, the regulations?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Stop, let me finish. So the planning commission has purview over that, so when you do your site plan or whatever, let's say you can put a directional sign, I mean, you can have directional sign this, 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 and this. And then when you come to us, it's, you know, all the materials and,
Okay. So there were.
am I correct?
I apologize, I talked over you. They do not approve the
No,
sign, they
but
set
they-
the standard.
They set the standards for how many,
Correct.
One projecting and one hanging,
okay.
one
yes,
mounted, one
I'm having flashbacks when we had to have everybody approve.
no, no.
I was having a flashback, so.
But the guidelines are there in the sign ordinance as to how many you can have
Okay.
and all those things.
Okay.
Internally lit, metal frame?
Yes.
What are you looking at? Okay.
This would be, it would be, these would probably not be illuminated, if we can have the signage on the top of the building be illuminated.
Do we,
This would be more for daytime passerbys.
oh, okay. Emily, do we allow internally lit in this area? No? Okay.
Okay, and that was one area where I don't want to get
Yeah,
too
we
far
had all
into
kinds
it.
That's
of
fine.
discussions with
One of the
Halo and,
recommendations and signs past, Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong, is they've done some of the gooseneck lighting in this area of the zoning district to kind of bring detailing out at nighttime.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
you are correct.
yeah, and there's also under cornice lighting if you,
That you can utilize too.
yeah, which I think we have, CVS has that in, right?
Mhm.
Which you can look at.
Guttering, doing metal downspouts? and-
No downspouts.
Everything's internal.
Everything is internal.
Wow.
Like it.
Let's see.
Sidewalk material, do we?
Sidewalk will be brick.
Yeah, meets our.
All the way around, or just
streetscape.
Jefferson and Washington?
At Jefferson and Washington, it will definitely be brick pavers.
Mhm.
On the interior of the part of the site, I
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
estimate that it would be concrete, but unless there's opposition to that.
it's more of the-
But the street sidewalks would all be brick.
Street lighting,
We will have street lighting.
okay. And then parking lot lighting.
And the
Yes, we will have that.
the style of it will be consistent with what you have already.
Okay, parking lot lighting, that's probably, when we talk about the landscaping, we probably want to talk about
Yes.
your lighting
And the
fixtures
lighting packages.
in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think
The site plan matter.
one area on that, when we get to that discussion, we will have to look into that a little bit closer. I think there's a height requirement,
Yes.
which will, on our behalf, make it very difficult to meet the,
Design standards.
design standards for the amount of lighting needed for safety. So that will be a challenge on our behalf, and I don't know if there's any leeway or an opportunity for a variance on that to reduce the number of light fixtures that we need to have in the parking lot. Not necessarily, we're not trying to, if we can stay away from a 30-foot pole, I will, but
I'm
if
sorry,
there's any
that's
leeway
PC.
above, going,
Are you talking about there's a height limit for the lighting poles?
I think there is.
Okay,
I
why
think
don't
there is a
There
you,
will be a lighting, discussion with planning commission.
Mhm.
There
Yeah.
is a,
okay,
section in there.
Yes, that mentions, yeah,
right.
I think we
yes.
typically look at the fixtures.
The standard for variance has gotten a lot looser, but you still need to show an unreasonable hardship. So Emily can work with you on that. The BZA.
Well, yeah, we'll start the discussion of the lighting and all that.
At least get it rolling, so everybody knows what's a coming.
Power lines coming down on Jefferson? I guess
I don't
know. Question, why am I asking that? I just think that'll change the facade. Okay.
It's real attractive.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Take poles out there.
You'll see the power lines really well with those big windows that they're waiting for the elevator.
Accent lighting, we already talked about. So, okay. Mr. Chairman, can I read back what I have? So, let's see.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Lighting fixtures, I guess all the accent lighting, just kind of some spec sheets and general locations. More detail on the medallion up on the medallions up on the cornice. Did I say that right, cornice?
Yeah, what detail, I guess when you say you want more detail on it, what
You had recommended taking the
Yes.
lateral, just what it
Better
would,
depiction of what we're actually going to
Good
get.
depiction, something that's a little bit more 3D, so we could see any type of like curvature that's going to end up being in it, instead, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some good example of medallions that we have in town. I can't think of anything, but we'll leave it to your, any guidance on what it should look
Professional
like?
opinion.
Okay. Awning details for those entrances that you're going to have awnings. We also talked about the Jefferson Street facade, the arches, rescaling of the windows. On the back side, you're going to, on the Payne Lane facade, you're going to wrap the masonry architecture around. We'd like to see that. Anything else that, in our list that we're missing?
I don't think
And,
so.
and I guess an update detail on how that corner is going to be lowered down to,
That's
you know,
what you
that,
just
that
said.
whole wrap and
On
that whole,
10, on-
that whole
on
detail.
main wrap,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Emily, did we miss anything? Okay, we're okay?
Dumpster,
Dumpster.
Wrap that in there.
dumpster, and for me, just to confirm the windows, if you actually have a picture of the windows, I don't know if like the vendor, you know, has this picture of it as opposed to
Like a
the,
some kind of
Okay.
sales material or brochure or something that we,
yeah, so we can kind
I
of
know it's
truly get a
I know
feel
it's
for what
kinda-
that window's going to look like as opposed to speculate.
yeah.
Yeah,
corner
like a
cut
building
of
that
it.
has it, the picture, I'm sure the vendor probably has something like that, right? But
And then we're generally okay with EFS materials on the higher
I think it's fine.
architectural elements on the roof line of the building?
I found what it says in the current guidelines, I assume we're still talking about the 2010 guidelines, about hardy plank.
Okay.
It actually only is in reference to general guidelines for alterations or additions to historic structures or contributing structures, so that's not us.
Right.
But it does say replacing original siding with cement siding, products such as hardy plank siding is not permitted. That's all, I did a word search for hardy plank, and that's the only
And
one
that's
that
it,
comes
that's
up.
all that came up, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martin.
Sure.
And that's all that's the bullet list I had too.
Okay.
So I don't think you missed anything.
Can I make a suggestion? Is when you come back, if there's a quick way to do a bulletized list, I think that'll help organize our discussion and kind of just check the boxes. Or a table.
So you asked for this, here it is, asked for this, here it
I
is.
think That'll check the box, move us through quickly. Emily, it would be helpful if we could drop in that community design policy and then the architectural style language, just to backstop the discussion we had earlier. For the point being, us being able to defend our decision, having that, hey, a mixture of architectural styles, it talks about being built over time, and then incorporating some of the other styles. So I can give you that. That's, that's the community design policy, page 22 of the plan, and then the architectural styles discussion on 45. I think having that in addition to the criteria list, I think will be helpful for backstopping our decision.
So just put it, we'll include that in the motion.
Yeah, kind of like where she
Yes.
lists all the criteria right now out of the zoning ordinance, kind of listing those general architectural styles, I think
And
gives
we'll
us.
put it in there and,
Right, I mean, basically, you remember from the training, what I was suggesting that you do is do an analysis of the facts leading to the conclusions, which
Yes.
determine the available options, and then your actions reflect a considered choice from the available options. If what you're doing there is, just like you said, gathering the information and
Right.
relating it to the portions of the guidelines.
right,
So we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
And then I guess once we make a decision, do we need to have some general findings with that? Would you recommend?
Yeah, I would recommend that you have written findings, and
Okay.
distribute them ahead of time if possible.
Okay.
Okay.
Use the word whereas as much as you like.
That's Martin's favorite word.
We can work with Emily on that one, so. Thank you.
Thank you all. I appreciate your time. Thank you for
Doing such a great job. It's really good.
Are you guys happy? You're smiling back there. Okay.
Were we unreasonable?
Like they're going to say yes.
I kept looking at their faces, I'm like, are they happy, or are they not happy? Are they?
Do we need to make a formal motion to defer it to next meeting, or?
Yeah.
Enough time at our next meeting for you to get everything done that we asked? I mean,
October 16th, materials will need to be
okay.
Yeah, let's shoot for it.
When's the site plan going to the commission?
to be determined.
Oh, okay, it hasn't done yet, okay.
And I would recommend, again, the point that where you guys start discussing that, if it makes sense to have us come in and jointly meet on that. I think that would be a good idea.
Okay.
I'm sorry, motion, we got to move it? Martin, are we okay just deferring it? Do we need to do a formal?
I think that's that's a consensus, so there's no need to have a formal motion and vote on it.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll defer this to the next meeting then with, I
the
guess, the
updates
requested
and
updates.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
But we still got
Okay,
stuff to do.
we still got stuff to do. So now we're at the next agenda item, new business.
The only new business I have currently is that, well, 2 items. Our playground construction started, and so keep an eye out for that. But other new business, there is a property in town that is currently working on maintenance of their building. They were told several times to come to the town with a COA for
The red roof?
changing, yes, colors of their building and so forth and so on. That was not done, so they now have a red roof. And so I just wanted to make everybody aware of the situation, but they are actively trying to clean up their blighted property, so.
What? I'm trying to remember what color the roof was. I mean, I know it was dilapidated, but, I mean, it wasn't a color initially.
I can't say that I ever recall, because everything I've ever seen is kind of the rusted, weathered,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know,
the
tarnished.
blue house on the street next to Madison Shops.
Pardo House.
You missed, I guess you don't go that way in town. You'll see it.
I haven't been up that way that
You'll
long.
see.
Lives on the other end of town, so you didn't
And
go
it's
there.
only the front portion of the roof. The back addition hasn't been done yet, but I would hope or assume that they keep it the same.
Did you contact them and say,
So I've tried reaching out. The owner's back out of the country, and I do not have information for the contractor at this time. Haven't seen him hanging out there of late, so.
It's a mixed bag. It was kind of, Emily, it was kind of subdued and kind of hidden.
Now
Now they
it's
put a
like-
red roof on it.
here I am?
So they,
Last I saw it.
It's
it
not,
was
even-
around
but
it,
it's
put the
not
siding.
even, it's not even that they put a new roof on it.
Right.
Like, they didn't go and put a new roof on it, they just painted it
Fire
scraped and
engine.
painted.
pretty poorly,
Yeah.
And they did scrape it. Looks like they did some other things to try to prep it to do something with it, but
but it was poorly done. And it is fire engine red. So we got that going for us. I'll show you, don't worry. No. They have to get it approved.
So that's
Okay,
my
sorry.
only new business. Old business, I am currently working on the bylaw update. There was a lot of information given about the bylaws and guidelines at the last meeting, so just haven't had time to do it all.
Okay.
But that'll
got some other
come
stuff
up.
going on.
Yeah, so I mean, if anybody has any additional comments, please, please, please feel free to put them in the Google Doc. That is tremendously helpful for
Could you
us.
send that to me?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, resend it out.
Okay, I'll
That'll be
send it
like
back
a
out. and
refresher
it's-
reminder for people.
Okay, it'll come from a Gmail account, but you'll
Okay.
know it's us. It's townofhaymarket@gmail.com. It's on Google Drive. You open it at the top. You say open in Google Docs, and then
Mhm.
you're free to edit it. You can all be editing. It
At the
saves it
same
real
time.
time.
Okay,
I'm happy to give a tutorial on how to edit the document as well, if need be.
Just saying.
okay.
Just saying.
Had a generational moment. Got so mad.
Okay. Mom will ask if she has questions.
If you want, I can give a planning commission update. or
Yes.
Commission completed. If I remember what we did. Oh, at the last planning commission meeting, Monday night, we heard from Van Meter. They came back, they had a public hearing. They're interested in doing a special use permit for 38 townhomes located down the street at the B.M. Smith property that we still have here in
I thought
town.
we already did that. Wasn't there already a public hearing for that?
There was a public hearing, but they came back with new information. So the citizens and the planning commissioners requested that they consider a different option for an entry exit to the property. It was currently situated on Hunting Path. They came back with a new update to have it on Washington Street in conjunction with the commercial portion up front. 20 minutes before the meeting, they also made a new edit, so they're going to come back for another public hearing. They've since moved their entry on Washington Street from the right of the property to the left to better align and get it further away from St. Paul Drive. So that'll be something that's coming back in the coming weeks to the Planning Commission.
Wow.
Guess they put a tot lot in where they closed the entrance?
Yes, they put a tot lot in the rears instead. That was about it. McDonald's is back for another discussion on the drive-through lanes. They were not satisfied with what the Planning Commission and Town Council approved, so they're back for another discussion and public hearing in October.
I think that's funny because they didn't seem, when it was happening, they didn't seem bothered by the direction and the decision that was where it
You're
led
correct.
to. They
were not.
made no,
This happened, I would say, 2 months after the decision was made. Everyone seemed fine. It was my thoughts that they were coming with, the final site plan to get approved, and then that's when they changed,
Okay.
so.
thank you.
That's all I have for Planning Commission.
Is it my turn for town?
Town council update.
Liaison?
I am your new liaison
Welcome.
Congratulations.
from the council, whatever I am. We had our council meeting. Bond resigned from her council position as well as her ARB position. So we currently met tonight, as most of you were here, and it's being advertised on our website that there's a vacant council seat open. So we'll see what kind of response we get. And then I'm guessing we're going to discuss it at October's meeting.
So you accept applications and
Yes.
the council,
Decides if they would like to nominate someone. We have 45 days
Correct, from the date of
from the date of the vacancy. So we would like to get it filled because there's a lot of things going on in town. So,
Great.
If I may, October's Town Council meeting is a unique night, so
Oh,
it's
yes.
October 2nd.
It's a
just so
Wednesday.
everyone knows.
because the VML conference was
Yeah.
in the middle of everything. So,
project back here got approved?
yes.
Okay. When should we peg
Ms.
pester you
Williams
about
has
it?
been busy down in North Carolina on some other projects,
Okay.
but she plans to come see us very soon for architecturals as well as site plan. And she too is considering a joint meeting prior, a work session meeting, just so we can get everybody at the same table.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted as soon as I hear more, but that's all I know.
The signs, the Del Webb signs out behind CVS, have you had any chance to talk about? Okay.
I have not.
Not sure like you're busy or anything.
No, not at all.
And then I guess, does Haymarket Day before our next meeting?
No,
No.
yet, no. It's the Saturday after. So if you want to come early to next meeting and help tape up boxes or anything, volunteer some time, stay late.
Come do parking at 5 o'clock in the morning. You get new T-shirts. Got new T-shirts. Just saying.
Direct the parade.
The vendor booths are full,
Vendor booths are full. We
parade is full.
well exceeded our sponsorship money. This year we're at 24,000. Last year was 17,000. So that was a great thing. Vendor opener booths are full, so, yeah.
Same layout, same kind of
Yep, same
Cool,
layout
okay.
as last year, just fun day.
music fest was considered a success.
It's a success.
Yes, very much so.
There's lots of money for ALS.
And then, what else is there?
Yeah, come out for the PD's Breast Cancer Walk
Walk.
on October 5th, 9 to 1.
And then the suicide, what is that called?
The Blue Help Suicide Prevention Walk is September 28th.
Mhm.
There's more information on
IQBE.
there's more info on our Facebook and website if you're interested or know anybody who is.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay.
Got a motion and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We adjourn, 9 o'clock.
Thanks, Martin.